Jai Bhim, Jai Mul Nivasi, Jai Samvidhan, Jai Bharat. Today is Sunday, and once again, I would like to welcome you all for today's special session. And today also we are going to discuss a very important topic and very important decision that was made almost 120 years back. So, as you all of you know that today Sunday we are organizing the sessions in English language, and particularly this is the month of July. And considering the July month as one of the date in the July month is very historic, and that is 26th July, which is approaching very soon. So, as far as many people know that on this 26th July 1902, Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj he gave one historic order when he was a princely king of Kolhapur state. And on this particular day, he issued 50% reservation in the state services for the backward classes. So this was a very historical development, and recognizing this particular day, today we had organized the session on this particular topic. The topic is basically Rajarshi Shahu Maharaj and 121 years of reservation. So on this particular topic, today we had Professor Dr. P.SKamble sir, who is basically economist professor, and he's a social thinker, and he is guiding and awakening the way or the to the extent possible. He is awakening the society. So without wasting time, I would like to welcome Dr. P.SKamble sir to today's studio. And sir, welcome to MNT studio, and Jai Bhim, Jai Vinas, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So as I was talking, 26th July is a very specific date in the Indian history. And on this particular date, Shahu Maharaj ji had given one very important order as far as the social system is considered. So today we would like to know from you about this particular order, specifically of 26th July 1902. What was it meant for, and for whom it was meant, and why basically Shahu Maharaj thought of giving this particular representation to the 50% of almost the population? Please, sir.
First of all, thank you very much. Thank you, Ashish, and all audience who have joined. Actually, 26th July should be celebrated as the day of social revolution. After independence, especially after the implementation of constitution, we are implementing reservation policy. We call it as affirmative action. But before that, 100 or more years in 1902, more than 100 years back, it was introduced and implemented by Rajarshi Shahu. The peculiarities of this order was he was in England, Europe he was in England, and from England he issued that order, and it was published in State Gazette on 26 July 1902. And the order was 50% of the vacancies that may occur in the state services shall be filled by the recruit from among the backward classes. So he was in England, and from England he issued an order which was published in the State Gazette, and it was mentioning about what we call it as a affirmative action or reservation policy in 1992. So you can imagine, before 150 years back, such type of decision can be taken. It was taken by Rajarshi Shahu. Really, it was a very revolutionary decision from the point of view of what we call about maintaining social equality, justice, and promoting social welfare. That is what this policy, this order was very important. What he made,
Yes, sir. Can you hear my voice? Hello. Can you hear my voice, sir? Hello. I think we had lost his connection.
Communities.
To reconnect with him.
That is enabled. It is because of only such a affirmative action, such a reservation policy to be implemented. What he made to take such a revolutionary social decision was when he became king of Kolhapur state, emperor of Kolhapur state. He was well studied. He was well studied. He took his education from a English teacher, foreign teacher, Fraser, and he was frequently visiting to the European countries, and he observed there how the socio-economic conditions are there in European countries and foreign countries, and how those are there in the country like us. And he thought that a lot of disparities there, a lot of inequalities there, injustice is there, discrimination is there, exclusion is there, and there is a need for taking such a revolutionary decision, as the result of which especially the backward communities will benefit from that decision, that policy. And therefore that decision was taken. He carried out a survey of education, primary education and higher education and college education. And he found out what is the state of education in Kolhapur state, Kolhapur Samsthan. And he found that a lot of disparity was there. And that disparity he observed made it very unsatisfactory and disappointing, as the result of which he took a decision. And that decision was relating to what we called as a reservation policy of pre-independence. It is called as a affirmative action. What was the situation he observed when he became king of Kolhapur state? He found that literacy was having a lot of inequality. Literacy was having a lot of inequality. And that inequality was, he observed illiteracy. He was talking about, he carried out a survey in Kolhapur state and Samsthan. And he found that in 1894, the population of Kolhapur state was 9 lakh. And there were 224 schools. And the students were 15,000. But the enrollment in the student was a thing of very disappointing to everybody, but that was captured by Rajarshi Shahu only. And he found that there was across the community disparity, a lot of disparity was there. And he found that of the total enrollment, of the total literacy, 79% literacy was among Brahmin community only. Only 9% literacy was there among Maratha, and all others were again very much illiterate. Very much illiterate. Enrollment was significantly lesser, what Rajarshi Shahu found. Then in Kolhapur state, there were 441 students in Rajaram High School. And in that school, he found out of the 441 students, 368 were only Brahmin. And 61, all others were remaining. Then Rajaram College, a very famous college in Kolhapur, in that college, the total strength of the students was 61 and 55 were Brahmins. That across the social communities he observed disparity, he observed inequality, and he thought that there is a need for taking a revolutionary decision, and that revolutionary decision can be reservation, can be affirmative action, and therefore that decision was taken. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, being very closely associated with Rajarshi Shahu, a very close affection was there, love and affection was there between Rajarshi Shahu and Dr. Ambedkar. And what Rajarshi Shahu proposed, he tried to implement wherever possible, whenever possible, and making a policy and implementation of that. In 1920, a famous Mangaon Parishad was organized, and Rajarshi Shahu made Dr. Ambedkar a president of that Mangaon Parishad, and he declared Dr. Ambedkar is the leader of Dalits or backward communities. Dr. Ambedkar also, you might be knowing, in 1947, he published a book, States and Minorities. And in the States and Minorities, actually it is a proxy constitution. Actually, it was a memorandum of his social organization, Scheduled Caste Federation. And he wanted to submit to this Constituent Assembly, because the process of framing of the Constitution, drafting of the Constitution, the decision was taken. And Dr. Ambedkar didn't know he will be the part and parcel of that activity. So he was visionary. He prepared a memorandum of Scheduled Caste Federation, and he wanted to submit to the Constituent Assembly about how the development policy should be there, how it can be inclusive, social inclusive, how it can be social welfare promoting, how it can promote and propose and give social justice, equality and welfare to the deprived communities, especially from the backward communities. And in that States and Minorities, Dr. Ambedkar also proposed the same policy, reservation policy, to the socially deprived communities in proportion of the population. And this idea he might have taken from the Rajarshi Shahu, but he also observed, because he was a researcher in sociology, anthropology, economics and all others. So he might have that background, but the policy decision which was taken by Rajarshi Shahu relating to reservation was a revolutionary. And fortunately, Dr. Ambedkar was very well equipped with what the socio-economic conditions of the backward communities are there, because he studied sociology. He carried out a research in anthropology when he was studied in MA in Columbia University and PhD as well. And that policy he incorporated in 1947's States and Minorities as a, Dr. Ambedkar used the term representation. Dr. Rajarshi Shahu termed it as a reservation policy. Dr. Ambedkar termed it as a representation policy, representation to the backward communities, to the deprived communities. And fortunately, he was the architect of Constitution. So he incorporated the reservation policy, affirmative action policy in the Constitution of India. Thus, what Rajarshi Shahu proposed, implemented, taking into account what the socio-economic conditions of the deprived communities, backward communities were there in Kolhapur state, Kolhapur Samsthan, which was very much impressed by Dr. Ambedkar, and the studies and research which was carried out by the Dr. Ambedkar, that also inspired and motivated him that such revolutionary policies and decisions are very much necessary. And that led to, he first incorporated in Scheduled Caste Federation memorandum, which was known as the States and Minorities, which is like a constitution, therefore it is known as proxy constitution. Preamble is there, articles are there, sub-articles are there. And fortunately, Dr. Ambedkar was the part and parcel of making of the Constitution of India. So that become very easier and that become very simpler. So he incorporated that reservation policy in the Constitution of India. And consequently, that came into true in the independent India, especially when the Constitution implementation started. But
this decision is considered, means 1902 when the decision came, and it was total and means one of the major decision to give representation to almost 50% of the seats or whatever vacant seats will come from that particular time. So whatever social system was existing in that particular year or particular before that time, definitely it was very hampering to the to that time social system. So, what was the reaction of the society, or what was the reaction of the forefront runners of this social system, for whom this was a very, very back? I mean, they got a very harm message, or it was a very harmful attack on their particular existing system. So, how do you see? What was the reaction?
Definitely, that was a revolutionary decision, and it was not digestible to that existing society. Lot of oppositions were found there, especially the beneficiaries, upper caste communities, very strongly opposed that decision, and they tried how Rajarshi Shahu will be in trouble, how Rajarshi Shahu will not work properly so far as the administration in the Kolhapur state or Kolhapur Samsthan is concerned. Lot of opposition was there, but Rajarshi Shahu was very firm. Rajarshi Shahu was very firm, and not only affirmative reservation policy, he also took number of decisions and measures and policies and implemented, and that policy, that decision he took was made strong by Rajarshi Shahu. Take example, some of the decisions and policies and measures which Rajarshi Shahu implemented for the sake of social welfare promotion and social inclusive development of the Kolhapur state. Take example, on September 13, 1917, he issued an order, and that order was students of all castes should study together in government schools. Then he started 3 hostels, one at Rajputwadi, one at Station Bungalow, and one at Rukdi Camp, and 4 more hostels: Miss Clark Hostel, Arya Samaj Hostel, Indumati Hostel, Backward Communities Hostel, and 2 hostels at Pandharpur. Again, at Nasik and Nagpur also extended financial assistance, so that education will be spread and the benefits of this reservation policy, affirmative action policy, will be taken. Then he appointed backward communities because implementation of that policy was required. So he appointed, in private sector and public sector, he appointed backward communities, that is employed untouchables, especially in the hunting, then in the administration, in Darbar also he appointed. Then Mahuts were appointed from the deprived communities. Drivers, chariots were appointed from the backward communities. Then on police force, he appointed backward communities. Then pleaders and doctors, he gave financial assistance for their education. Then one person, namely Dadoba Pawar, he was made a chairman of the standing committee, and he also became Mamledar and MLA of the Kolhapur state or Kolhapur Samsthan. He made to change surnames of the backward communities so that they will not be identified, and the surnames which Rajarshi Shahu suggested were Bhosle, Pawar, Salunke. In addition to that, he started Dr. Keshav Patil. He instructed Keshav Patil to start pre-mixed eating house. He started hotel for Gangaram Kamble, Satyashodak Hotel, and he was personally, along with staff, Rajarshi Shahu was going. He banned practice of untouchability, practice of hajeri, especially for the backward communities. And also, he started practice of schools and government hospitals in which untouchability was banned. Then he banned untouchability practice in public places like dharmashala, rest house, public wells, river ghats, etc., etc. What does this mean? This means that he introduced and implemented that reservation policy in 1902, 26 July. In addition to that, to derive benefits of reservation policy, education is required. Security, social protection should be given to these socially deprived communities, and in that direction he also undertaken efforts. Maybe encouragement for education, pre and primary education, primary schools for backward communities, mixed schools for all communities, and also appointment of these deprived communities in private as well as public employment. What is this? This is just social revolutionary, and it was made by just Rajarshi Shahu. Nobody thought of it. Nobody thought of it, and it was incorporated in the Constitution of India by Rajarshi Shahu, Dr. Ambedkar. This is what the legacy of Rajarshi Shahu was also taken very seriously by Dr. Ambedkar, because all of us know Dr. Ambedkar was a very, very, very severe victim of this society, and what he troubled, all of us know, being learners of Dr. Ambedkar. And that suit was followed by Dr. Ambedkar, and very rigorously, sincerely, honestly, he endeavored to incorporate that policy in Constitution of India so as to give justice, equality, social welfare to the backward communities, to the women. That is what Dr. Ambedkar followed the suit of Rajarshi Shahu, and this is a very revolutionary decision. And therefore, Dr. Ambedkar was saying the birthday of Rajarshi Shahu should be celebrated as a national festival. As a national festival, birth anniversary of Rajarshi Shahu should be celebrated as a national festival, not only in India, not only across the states, but at global level also, because that revolutionary decision couldn't be taken by all others. It was just taken by Rajarshi Shahu, and that Vedokta and all other experience which Rajarshi Shahu took, that made him to take such decisions. If the situations like King is like this, then what about the deprived communities? What about the backward communities? What is the life of, what are the sufferings of the backward communities? In that direction he thought, and he started with education, he started with reservation, he started with employment, he gave preferential treatment, priority treatment, and the same policies were adopted which were suggested by Dr. Ambedkar in states and minorities. First, so as to submit to the Constitution, Constituent Assembly, because that will be incorporated in the Constitution of India. And we are lucky enough, we are fortunate enough that Dr. Ambedkar was the part and parcel of making the Constitution, and therefore he incorporated that policy in the Constitution of India. And therefore, it is because of Dr. Ambedkar, and previously it is because of Rajarshi Shahu, that policy became the policy of the government of India and the policy of the nation. The policy by many other countries also adopted from the Rajarshi Shahu. That is what this is happening. But unfortunately, when we talk about the present context, this policy has been totally failed by the policymakers and our representatives. We are giving reservations to the different strata, to the different communities. Intention is good, to give social justice, equality, to maintain and to promote welfare. But unfortunately, the recruitment is not there. Privatization is taking place. A lot of privatization is taking place. So public government employment is not there. And in private employment, no reservation is there. So we incorporated the policy. For some years, definitely it was implemented in education, in politics, in employment, in appointment. Yes, to some extent it was implemented. But later on, we defeated that policy. Defeated in the sense that we started, on the one hand, we are advocating Rajarshi Shahu. We are taking names of Dr. Ambedkar, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, but their policies, their thoughts, and their measures and their work, we are vanishing. Just take example, just only reservation policies taken into account. We are privatizing our entire economy. We are moving from mixed economy to capitalist economy, free economy, liberal economy, and all employment opportunities in public sector. Just we are reducing. And how the reservation policy can be implemented? Policy is there. We are supporting Rajarshi Shahu. We are taking names of Dr. Ambedkar, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, but we are decreasing employment in public sector. And this reservation policy is there in the public sector only, not in private sector. So how the dual policy makers and government is implementing that we are experiencing. Actually, at this moment, there is a need for giving justice and promotions and encouragements and stimulations to the socially deprived communities. Policies are there. But so far as recruitment is concerned, recruitment is totally banned. No recruitment is there. We are privatizing banks. We are privatizing public sector undertakings. We are privatizing these government departments. We are outsourcing. Outsourcing nothing, but it is privatization. So on the one hand, we advocate Rajarshi Shahu. We take names of Dr. Ambedkar. We take names of Mahatma Jyotirao Phule. But we are defeating their policies and the work that they have carried out. They suffered a lot in carrying out such decisions and implementation of such decisions. And we are just defeating their policies, their works. Just we are formally taking their names, but taking decisions which are totally opposite, totally reverse what they did for social welfare of the society, equality, justice, and promotion of social welfare that is happening. And that is what the present situation is there. So what I would like to suggest is that we should take seriously Rajarshi Shahu, and 26th July should be celebrated as a social justice day. Not only in Maharashtra, not only in Kolhapur, not only in India, but across the globe. That revolution decision Rajarshi Shahu took in England. And in England, he ordered that this policy is necessary to be incorporated in Gazette, and with immediate effect, it should be implemented. And it is the duty and responsibility of the administration to look at whether it is being implemented very rigorously, sincerely, honestly, or not. It is duty of administration to take due care as the result of that, very sincerely, honestly, rigorously, that policy will be implemented. And that will give us what we call it as a social justice, equality, social welfare, what we call it as inclusive growth or inclusive development. How visionary Rajarshi Shahu was there. How many kings are there, excluding the king of this Gaikwad of Baroda? Nobody is there. Nobody is there who took such decisions, who worked for the sake of society, who worked for the social welfare, who worked for the inclusive growth development. Now we are discussing about inclusive growth. We are discussing inclusive growth, inclusive development, but we are privatizing the economy. No employment is there. We are reducing the number of public sector banks. We are privatizing railway. We are privatizing all other state and central government undertakings, and we are defeating the policy of reservation. Very visionary Rajarshi Shahu implemented. He was educated. That Cambridge University gave delete to Rajarshi Shahu. During that period, we can imagine how caliber he was, how socially revolutionary he was. Cambridge University gave honorary delete degree to Rajarshi Shahu. But we are defeating Rajarshi Shahu, Dr. Ambedkar, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule. Just we are taking their names for the sake of politics and implemented reverse policies and measures. And we are trying to vanish their works, what they have did for the society, for the sake of the society. That is happening. This is what the reality is there. Future course of action should be, we take very seriously Rajarshi Shahu. 26th July should be implemented as a social justice day. Everybody, every citizen of the country, because Dr. Ambedkar was saying, birth anniversary of Rajarshi Shahu should be celebrated as a national festival. Likewise, this also like national festival and also international as well. That should be implemented. his policy should be incorporated in the policies, and we should be very sincere, honest, and rigorous in implementation. Unless and until in that direction the efforts are being made, we are just vanishing the works of social revolutionaries like Rajarshi Shahu, Dr. Ambedkar, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule. That is what I want to propose before the audience, before the society. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you very much, sir. Very rightly pointed out by you, and very elaborately you had covered the entire thing within a short span, right from the implementation of reservation and carried forwarded by Phule, Jyotiba Phule ji and Baba Sahab, and today also how it is correlated and what is happening actually to the reservation policy. So basically, every our forefathers, including Rajarshi Shahu Maharaj, they have fought for the rights. For the backward people who were injustice, and also they had not given blanket this one. They had done it by doing proper study, collecting proper data, and proving it, and then only they had done this cause. If we read that particular decision, that will give a clear idea, and I would like to just read that particular statement. So that particular statement says, proclamation of reserved seats for backward caste, the Kolhapur State Gazette. Currently in the Kolhapur princely state, steps have been taken to educate the people of all varnas and to encourage them towards education. However, looking at the condition of the underprivileged, the government feels sorry that these efforts haven't had the kind of success that was expected. And after thinking carefully about the subject, the government has reached the conclusion that they aren't enough opportunities available after completing one's higher education. The solution for this is to encourage the backward classes of the government subject to opt for higher education. His Highness has decided that a higher portion of the princely state's employment opportunities should be kept aside for these classes. In this regard, His Highness orders that of all the seats that go vacant from the date of this proclamation, 50% seats should be filled with the backward classes. In all the offices where backward class employees numbers are less than 50%, all the next appointments should go to the backward classes. After the publication of this order, the chiefs of each department should send a tri-monthly report of all the appointments in their departments to His Highness. The backward classes should be understood as all classes except Brahmin, Prabhu, Shenvi, Parsi, and other advanced classes on the orders of His Highness Nagesh Pandurang Bhide. So basically, this order, it gives a clarity and it gives the entire picture of how the visionary Shahu Maharaj ji was, and what for he had given this proclamation, this order, and how it was benefited to the society till today if this has been implemented in the right perspective. And definitely, if the rulers of this country want to give justice to the majority of the people, majority of the citizens of India, then definitely these implementation part is a very, very important, so that every individual gets developed and every citizen should get developed. And definitely, once citizen is developed, it will be the development of the country. So it is such a grassroots level. It is related, and definitely his vision will become means the entire vision of Shahu Maharaj ji to make the backward class people, ruling class people, such a citizen that he should feel proud of himself. So, and also as rightly messaged by you that his day, this particular day of giving the reservation should be celebrated as a social justice day, and this definitely all our viewers should think in this particular direction, and they should celebrate this as a national and international festival. Definitely, it can create a reaction. Thank you very much, sir, for joining today and elaborating on this particular topic and giving
Thank
important
you very
message.
much. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Jai Mulewati,
Thank
Jai Samvitan, Jai Bharat, sir. So it was Professor D.SKamble, sir, who had joined from Shivaji University, Kolhapur, and he's a social thinker as well as he's a professor in Economist, and very rightly and in broadly he had elaborated on this particular reservation which was given by Shahu Maharaj ji on 26 July 1902. And he had also given a message to all our viewers what we should do in today's situation. So this video will be there on this particular link, and all are requested to pass on this information to all the people in your network, your relatives, your family members, and all, so that this important information reaches to the masses and everybody is get awakened on this particular aspect. And if they are having right information, they can speak at anywhere about this reservation policy, because it is proclaimed in such a way that it is anti means not in the favor of the entire nation, and also so many things can get clarity with the help of this information in the video. So this is really a very important video, and I would again request to share this particular video in entire your social circle. Thank you very much. Tomorrow we will be joining again at 8:30 p.m. and tomorrow we are going to discuss about uniform civil code. And the topic is यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड जबरन थोपने का निर्णय कोई पागल सरकार ही कर सकती है। यह स्टेटमेंट था डॉक्टर बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर जी का, और उसी स्टेटमेंट के ऊपर कल हम डिस्कस करेंगे। यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड जबरन थोपने का निर्णय कोई पागल सरकार ही कर सकती है, और इस विषय पर हमारे साथ कल बातचीत करेंगे मूल निवासी बीडी बोरकर साहब, जो चेयरपर्सन है डी के खापड़े मेमोरियल ट्रस्ट के। तो कल उनके साथ में इस विषय पर गहन चर्चा होगी। तो ज्यादा वक्त न लेते हुए कल पुनः मिलेंगे हम 8:30 बजे। तब तक के लिए धन्यवाद। जय भीम, जय मूल निवासी, जय संविधान, जय भारत।